I'd like to thank the RCA for providing this weekly opportunity for us to share Divrei Torah with one another. My name is Yechiel Morris. I'm the rabbi of the Young Israel Southfield in Southfield, Michigan. I'd like to share with you an idea about relationships. At the same time, I also am sensitive. I'm recording this video at the beginning of the week, and I know there's still raging wildfires in California, and also the very difficult news we're hearing out of Israel right now of a soldier who was killed last night, rockets being fired into Israel. And I know things are tense. I'd like to be sensitive to that as well, and perhaps the idea that I share can connect with that. There's a Radak that I first was heard about several years ago from Yaakov Neuberger in this week's Parsha that speaks to us about relationships and about how important it is to be sensitive to those who we love and care deeply about. The Radak comments on the pasuk in which Hashem says, "Vayar Hashem ki snua Leah," the God sees that Leah was hated. As a result of that hatred that was directed from Yaakov towards Leah, so Hashem blessed Leah with children. And the Radak asks, he says, where do we ever see that Yaakov hated Leah? Kisnua Leah. That's a very strong word. Yaakov hated Leah. We know that Yaakov loved Rachel, but where does it say that Yaakov, God forbid, ever hated Leah? And so the Radak suggests that, of course, it's not true, it can't be true that Yaakov hated Leah, but rather because Yaakov loved Rachel so much, and that was clear and that was evident, and Leah was aware of that as well. So Leah felt inside her, she felt hated. She felt that Yaakov didn't care about her. She felt second fiddle to Rachel. And internally, although Yaakov, of course, the Radak says, must have loved Leah, but just not the same plane that he loved Rachel, internally, Leah felt it as if she was hated. And Hashem recognized that. Hashem saw that reality. And as a result, Hashem blessed Leah. The Radak also alludes to a pasuk later on in the Torah in Parshat Ki Vayetzei, with the two wives, achas ahuva, achas snua, that one wife a man loves and one wife a man hates. And again, the same idea that how could it be a Jewish man hates his wife? And so the idea is that here there's one life that is loved, that's more beloved than the other. The other one feels hatred. And I think it's a very powerful idea that the Radak is sharing about how careful we need to be, certainly as husbands, as wives, parents towards children, that we communicate to them clearly our love and our affection towards them. God forbid there should, of course, never be another person in our lives for a spouse. There should never be infidelity. But even without that, if a husband's attention is not focused on his wife, if a wife's attention and focus is directed somewhere else, if a husband spends most of his time with his friends, watching football all day long on a Sunday, a 1 o'clock game, a 4 o'clock game, a 7 o'clock game, and is not at home to help his wife, to be there with her, to help with the children. If at night he's at the casino, he's out with his friends at the bar, he may very much love and care about his wife, but that's not what's being indicated through his actions. And as the result, his wife, or again, to go both ways, the wife with the husband could feel, if the wife's attention is elsewhere, they can feel very hurt and feel a lot of pain. They can feel snua, they can feel hated, and the consequences can be devastating. I think you can also connect this idea that perhaps a similar sentiment was felt by the brothers of Yosef vis-a-vis Yaakov's love and affection towards Yosef, that we're told quite explicitly in the pasuk, "V'Yisrael ahaves Yosef mikol banav," that it isn't true that Yaakov loved Yosef more than all the other brothers. And the Rashbam says, "Mikol banav Yisrael ahav kol zeh gar makina," that the hatred was that the brothers had towards their brother Yosef was a result of this jealousy. That indeed Yaakov must have loved the other brothers, his other sons as well, but clearly there was more affection that was directed towards Yosef, and the brothers noticed that quite clearly, and it was felt, and everything that resulted was due to that imbalance in the love and the affection that was directed towards Yosef and not towards the other brothers. And it's a very powerful lesson to parents in terms of clearly not showing favoritism to one child over the other, but making sure that each child, each one is different, that each one is clearly loved, and that's felt, and that's very very obvious and clear. That needs to be shown each for their own way to each and every child. And I'd just like to share one final thought just to connect what's happening currently in Israel, the uncertainty there, as well as out in California with the wildfires, about how important it is for us to express our solidarity and to show that we're sensitive and that we care in terms of what is happening, what is occurring. There's a Meshech Chachma in Parshas Korach where he wonders, he indirectly makes this observation that Hashem made several signs to indicate that clearly Aaron was being chosen, that Aaron was the one who was selected to be the Kohen Gadol, and yet after the earthquake, after the fire pans, the fire that came out from Shemayim, after a Magefa, a plague, still the Jewish people weren't convinced that Aaron was the one. And it wasn't until the staffs, the Mata of Aaron, along with the other staffs, were placed around in the Mishkan, and the Mata, the staff of Aaron, sprouted. Only then was everything calmed down, everything became clear. And the Meshech Chachma explains that the other tests were all clear indicators that everyone else was being punished. But it wasn't necessarily obvious that Hashem loved Avram, that Hashem would always be with Aaron and his descendants. It was only after Hashem clearly made a indication, performed the miracle to Aaron's staff, where it became obvious that it was Hashem's affection towards Aaron. That is why Hashem was choosing Aaron for him and for all his descendants moving forward. Very often people can think and can imply that we care about each other, we care about one another, but we don't always say it. We don't always express that love and that solidarity. Sometimes we do need to be more expressive. Sometimes we need to pick up the phone and to make the call and to say that maybe I can't do anything at this time, but I'm thinking about you. I'm davening for you. I'm doing, if there's anything that you need where I can be of assistance. Those who are facing the struggle, the tragedy, what's unfolding in California right now, maybe there's nothing that we can do if we're not in California, but at least we can express and say and pick up the phone and call and email and ask if there's donations, any way that we can help and be of assistance. And what's occurring right now in Israel, I think it's the same idea, whether we're outside of Israel, whether we're in Israel, we're not currently being affected by the rocket fire. We need to think about ways in which we can better express our solidarity and our mutual feelings of pain and of fear in terms of what is occurring right now. We often, as coming back to that Radak, we jump to conclusions or we make assumptions, and which is natural and obvious, and we have to be a little bit more careful with our actions and with our words, that we make clear our feelings, make clear our expressions of love and solidarity, because we don't pick up the phone and when we show maybe favoritism towards someone else, the other individual, the other groups, they pick up on that, and it can be very hurtful and very painful. Rather, we need to make clear that we love all our children, that we spend time with our spouse. We make clear to them that they are our first and priority in this in our lives. And when our fellow Jews or fellow citizens are facing struggle and difficulty, that it shouldn't be enough that you should just think that we care about them, but we need to do whatever little we can do through words or through actions to express our thoughts and our feelings. I wish everyone a good Shabbos. I wish everyone in California that they should be safe and should be able to rebuild through the destruction. And on behalf of everyone, I wish those in Israel, and we express to those in Israel currently facing a dangerous predicament, that we daven for you, we care about you, and if there's any way that we can be of assistance and help out, that we're here for you. Have a good Shabbos.